All right, so today we are jumping into a story all about how one relationship got its start. And look, it has all the ingredients of a classic high school romance, right? But the way it kicks off, it starts with a moment that's so bold, you're going to wish you had that kind of confidence back in the day. Let's dive right in. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The person who actually lived this story, they kick the whole thing off with these exact words. I mean, it's the perfect hook, isn't it? Super candid, personal, and it promises that we're in for something really special here. So, where does a story like this even begin? Well, you can forget about some subtle glance across a crowded cafeteria. Nah, this one starts with a super bold proposition, right in the middle of a busy school hallway. Okay, so let's set the scene. The date is November 3rd, 2025. Our narrator, he's just walking to health class, probably thinking about, literally anything but romance. And right then, the entire course of his sophomore year is about to get flipped upside down. All right, so let's meet our two main characters here. First up, we've got our narrator. He's a sophomore, 16 years old. And then we have Olivia, or Liv as she's called, who's a 15-year-old freshman. Now, I know it's only a 1-year difference, but as you know, in high school, that can feel like a completely different world. And okay, this is where it gets almost cinematic. Liv pulls him aside in the hallway and just lays out this two-step plan. Step 1, she's breaking up with her current boyfriend, who she says is pretty controlling. Step 2, she wants to start dating our narrator instead. I mean, talk about direct, zero ambiguity there. So, how does our narrator respond to this bombshell? Well, just as directly. There's no hesitation, no, oh, let me think about it. Just an immediate, super enthusiastic, hell yeah. And just like that, the wheels are officially in motion. Okay, so the deal is struck. But how do you actually go from a hallway agreement to, a real relationship? Well, it turns out the first few weeks were kind of a slow burn. This timeline here gives us the perfect roadmap of what happened next. And you've got to notice how quickly things become official. We're talking just 2 days after that proposition. But the really big moments, the real intimacy, those major milestones, they're spaced out. This wasn't a rush job. They really took their time building something. So according to the story, things did start off pretty slow, mostly just talking at school. But then on November 24th, we get the first really significant gesture. Liv gives him a handmade bracelet. And here's the detail that I think is just so cool. He says he is still wearing it to this day. A small, simple gift that ended up becoming a permanent fixture. So after that quiet start, they go through the holidays. He even got her a Harry Potter book for Christmas, which is sweet. And then we fast forward a couple of months to a day that is practically made for relationship milestones. And yeah, you guessed it, Valentine's Day. The plan itself is super simple. Liv just comes over to his house to hang out. But what seems like just a casual hangout, well, it's about to set the stage for the next really big step in their story. So what's their idea of a perfect Valentine's hangout? Turns out it's a movie marathon with a very specific, very broody vibe. They powered through Twilight, then The Batman, and then capped it all off with The Vampire Diaries. I mean, wow, that is a serious commitment to the whole vampire vigilante genre. And yeah, somewhere in that marathon of vampires and dark brooding heroes, it happened. Their first kiss. A quiet, private moment that suddenly made everything feel very, very real. But look, a quiet first kiss, that's not the end of this story, not by a long shot. The real climax, the big public declaration, that was still on the horizon. Okay, so now the setting is March 5th. There's a band called Full Spectrum playing a show right there at their school, just the perfect backdrop for one of those memorable high school nights. Our narrator remembers the setlist being absolutely fire. They were playing songs like Shut Up and Dance and Beautiful Things. You can just imagine the energy in that school gym, right? Everyone just dancing and having a great time. And then came the moment. The band finishes a love song. The energy in the room is just perfect. And right there, in the middle of the crowd, with all their friends and classmates watching, they kissed in front of everyone. So what did that feel like? I mean, to go from a secret hallway proposition all the way to a public kiss at a school concert. Well, in the narrator's own words, it felt so damn cool. And that's it, right? That's that perfect, confident, on top of the world teenage feeling. And that brings us pretty much up to the present day in this story.
I mean, from a hallway proposition to a huge public statement, a lot has happened in a pretty short time.
So at the time this story was actually shared, they were getting close to their 5-month anniversary, which, hey, is not bad at all for a relationship that started with a simple hell yeah in a school hallway. And the narrator ends the whole story not with a statement, but with this hopeful question about the future. And it just perfectly captures that feeling of a young relationship, doesn't it? It's exciting, maybe a little uncertain, but just full of possibility. It's a pretty great reminder that sometimes the best stories really do start with just taking a chance in the school hallway.